Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and today we will be looking at some of our final previews before the 2026 midterm elections. So now we're basically 3 weeks after the elections of 2025, where we saw a pretty decent blue wave across the country in California, Virginia, New Jersey, New York City, and various other states. But we're going to have some special elections before the actual 2026 midterms and the primaries, so it's going to be pretty important to look at all of those. So to start off this video, we're going to be looking at a piece of news, actually. And it seems here, because we got in the news a couple days ago that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has had some massive beef with Donald Trump recently, was announcing her resignation for January 5th, 2026, I believe. So, I mean, it seems like that some other Republicans are now also looking. They messaged Jake Sherman, a pretty reliable news source that gets insider news. He received messages from several other GOP members, probably either the more moderate or the more extreme Republican ones, such as Chip Roy on the extreme side, or moderates like Brian Fitzpatrick. They were also considering retiring in the middle of the term. That means not just not running for re-election, but also leaving. That means resigning while their term has not been completed yet. So this is really big news, because right now the United States House of Representatives currently sits at 219 Republicans and 200, I believe, I think 213 Democrats. So, that would mean there is two Republicans can vote no for a piece of legislation to pass, because if the rest of the caucus votes yes and no Democrats cross the lines, 217 yes votes for with Republicans, and those two no's go 215. But if you do 3, then that would make it 216 to 216. So they have 2 votes that they can spare. But if a few, that would mean at least 2, right? And that means that no Republican would be able to vote no if at least 2 GOP representatives resign. So we're also going to have those special elections that I'm going to talk about that are going to even hurt the Republican majority even more. So let's get into those. But before we do so, I do want to talk about one that's happening in 2025, not 2026, because we have 3 more to talk about that are happening in 2026. But this one that I will be covering on a stream on Tuesday. Make sure to go to my live streams and press the notification button and like the live stream. The Tennessee's 7th special congressional election. So here you have Trump-endorsed Republican who won the primary in somewhat of a landslide, getting over the majority of the vote, Matt Van Epps, going up against Democratic, somewhat of a progressive leftist candidate, Afton Ben. She is a 2-term. She's in her 2nd term as state representative, and she is very progressive. She's campaigned with people like former Vice Chair David Hogg. You look at her endorsements. I do want to show you the general election endorsements. You see here that Afton Ben has received endorsements from very progressive members of Congress. Maxwell Frost, also the youngest member of Congress, Pramila Jayapal from Washington, and Jasmine Crockett, who is looking at her Senate bid right now. And you see here, David Hogg, he came over to Tennessee to campaign for her himself. And I mean, you have the DNC chair, Ken Martin, endorsing her. I mean, he's kind of the chair. But you do have 3 polls. All of these were sponsored by Democrats. You have Epps beating Ben by 8, by 10, and by 8 again. So it seems like obviously Matt Van Epps is a favorite. I mean, this is a district where the Republican won, Mark Green, by 21.5%. Mark Green resigned in July, not for any corruption or stuff like that, but to take on a new job in the private sector. So, I mean, so far, we've seen on average Democrats overperform in the special elections for the House in 2025. Yeah, I think there were four: one in Virginia, one in Arizona, and two in Florida. You had Democrats overperform by, on average, 17.25%. So, this is also one of the first races they've actually polled. I think the first special House race they actually actively polled, and they were at Democratic pollsters, and every single poll has showed Epps winning. So if you did apply the average overperformance we've seen so far in these special elections, it would be around a 4.25% win for Republican Matt Van Epps, and that margin is underperforming his polling, where we see +8, +10, and +8. That would mean the average is around plus 8.3%, an 8.3% win for Matt Van Epps. So this district, I believe, is going to go, my final prediction here. Actually, no, I'm going to do like one or two more videos for this race, but my prediction here is that Matt Van Epps will win by around 9%. It won't surprise me if he wins by double digits, but Tennessee, it's going to go red. I don't think Democrats are going to overperform by over 20%, although it wouldn't be that shocking, but it would be something to critique me on. So now we're going to move on to our next race. This is a runoff election. We had the actual election happen on Election Day, November 3rd, 2025. This is a safe Democratic district in the Houston area of Texas. You have the 18th Congressional District. In 2024, this district went Democrats by 38.9%. Incumbent Democrat Sylvester Turner passed away in March, and then Republican Governor Greg Abbott kind of delayed this special election as long as he could to maintain a bigger Republican majority, but Texas does have runoffs if no candidate reaches 50%. This was a very safe Democratic district, so no Republican got over 6.7% of the vote. Democrats, both of the two who moved on to the runoff were Democrats. Christian Menifee, who got first place, got 28.9% of the vote, and Amanda Edwards got second place. She got 25.6% of the vote. So, I mean, none of these candidates are like that kind of that interesting to look at. They're kind of your average southern black Democrat, I would say. So you look at here the runoff polling. You had this was actually made before the election day results, so it was kind of in hypothetical, and Menifee actually beats Edwards by just 2%. That's actually kind of around how much he beat her, but in the general election he beat her by 3.3%. You did not have much votes here, I will say that. 76,000 in 2024 in this race. You actually had a total of, over 200,000 votes. So it's going to be interesting to see. I will say it mostly, because, I mean, I expect most of these Republicans to kind of just stay at home. But there will be a lot, I think there should be more Democrats who turn out for the runoff compared to this election, the first round. And Jolanda Jones, that is what we're going to be looking at. Jolanda Jones, I'm pretty sure she is slightly more progressive than Edwards or Menifee, so we will see what happens. I do think that her voters are going to lean slightly towards Edwards, so this is going to be an interesting race to watch. This runoff is going to be happening on January 31st. So by then, this seat, by January 31st, this seat would be vacant for 11 months, close to 11 months. So we're going to move on to our next race now. Also, my prediction for this one is safe Democratic result, obviously, because both of these candidates are Democrats. So now we move on to New Jersey. This one has already been scheduled for April 16, 2026, the general election day. The primary for this race has not been held yet, although this is a safe Democratic seat. This has been left open by Governor-elect Mikey Sherrill, who resigned to prepare to take on the oath of governor of the state of New Jersey. In 2024, she won this seat by 14.7%, New Jersey's 11th congressional district. So right now you're seeing kind of the Democratic field increased by a lot, but you have two main candidates. You have Tom Malinowski, the former chair of the Hunterdon County Democratic Party, where this district is. Oh wait, I'm not sure. Hunterdon County is. Where is Hunterdon County? Oh, okay. It is a Trump county. Was it a Trump county in 2020? Okay, it was slightly Trump county. But I don't think the county that he was chair of lied in this district. At least not a majority of it. You see here. Yeah, I don't think any of Hunterdon County lies in the 11th district as well. He is a former representative, so that he might be looking at a political comeback. He left office in 2022. I think. Did he lose? Was it him losing his seat? Because he served the 7th district for 4 years. Yeah, he lost to Republican Tom Keene Jr. Tom Keene Jr., he won by quite a bit in 2024, but he is at risk of losing re-election in 2026. So if Malinowski doesn't win this primary, he might just I think he's going to try and beat out Keene in 2026. Because honestly, Keene, that's something you only swing a seat in the state of New Jersey. But Malinowski, him being from out of the district might cost him a lot of votes in the primary, because obviously nobody's going to vote for a guy who hip-hopped over from a different district. But the main candidate that's probably going to beat him is Essex County Commissioner Brendan Gill. He's from the district. Essex County is the main part of the 11th district. So it's some local guy who has a local political position versus a former representative from the other side of the state. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Endorsements have already started to pour in. The two big ones I'm going to be looking at is incumbent Democratic governor and also outgoing governor Phil Murphy. He has endorsed Democrat Brendan Gill. Maybe he's using his last bit of power as governor of New Jersey to do a little power play right there. And you also have a wave of state legislators endorsing Mr. Gill, state senators, state assembly members, all of that stuff. Oh, you also have the candidate's wife endorsing him. That's interesting. You also have, once again, this thing from Essex County. 11 mayors, the entire county commissioner board of 5 Essex County commissioners, the Essex County sheriff, and the Essex County clerk, who has served for 19 years. But on the Malinowski side, he has 2 endorsements. One from Senator Andy Kim, who was elected last year, and also the Labor Union International Association of Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers. And Mikey Sherrill, she is declining to endorse. She actually resigned on November 20th, and the special election was called just one day after, November 21st. So, I mean, once again, it's going to come down to what's going to work better, Malinowski or Gill. Because honestly, I think at this kind of time under a Trump administration, Democrats, they're going to want somebody local to represent them. They don't trust the federal government anymore, so they might not go for Malinowski. Under a Kamala administration, I think Malinowski would have a better chance. But honestly, this is probably better for Democrats if Malinowski loses a primary so he can run in 2026 against Thomas Keene in the 7th district. So, that is it for New Jersey. Now we're going to move on to one that's not scheduled yet. And it's probably going to happen unless Marjorie Taylor Greene changes her mind. But if she did change her mind, that would look really bad. But you also already have candidates announcing their bids. So this is the 14th district in the state of Georgia in 2024. This district voted for Greene by, 31.7%. So Obviously, to safe Republican district, you could even have Democrats overperform by 30 points, and you would still not have a Democrat win. So here you already have Republicans actually announcing their bids, though you don't have any big ones. But Republicans, the more Trump Republicans, they're looking at State Senator Colton Moore. He's young, he's MAGA, and that will be wonderful to replace a Republican who just had some massive disagreements with Trump, which developed into a big fury of flames that caused her to resign and call out Donald Trump even further. So you could honestly expect Marjorie Taylor Greene to announce a 2028 presidential bid, because she's not retiring, I'll tell you that. She could even run for Senate in the state of Georgia, but this is going to be an interesting one. Obviously, it hasn't been scheduled yet, but when she does resign on January 5th, 2026, you could expect the primary to be held probably in February, I would say, and the general election to be held in April or May. So those are the four special House races that we are kind of expecting at this moment. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.